this set up. Who plays an instrument? Okay. Who sings? Maybe you used to do chorus? Yeah. And if you don't play an instrument, how many people listen to music at least? Probably all of you, I bet. So have you ever wondered, though, why you like music? That's very, why do we like music? So when you look into that question, you find that music is actually much more than just something we enjoy, but it's also something that is surprisingly very vital to us as students and vital to our education. So music, it engages the entirety of the day. I'll put this up. It develops it in just astonishing ways. Daniel Levitin is a psychologist, he's a music educator. He writes a book called This Is Your Brain on Music. So he describes that young children, their brains are sponge-like, and they are ready to hungrily soak up any and all sounds, incorporating them into the very structure of the brain's neural wiring. Essentially, this means that music is something our brain wants to hear. And when we do hear it, it literally takes our brain and it shapes it, makes it denser, makes it richer, which is something that makes us better and brighter individuals. So Daniel Levitin gives a very detailed account of what music does to your brain. It's very complicated. I don't understand half of it, but here is the basics of it. Brain, ear, notch on the scale. So you hear a sound, it hits your ear, and as it's going to your brain, it bounces off of a membrane called your basilar membrane in the inner ear. Then once it hits that, it goes to your auditory cortex. Alright? And that's where the pitches are mapped out that you hear. And it's crazy. If you would stick electrodes to your brain right here, you would literally be able to hear the song through the electrodes. So your brain takes the song and literally stores that song and knows the song. So from there, it'll go to the hippocampus, which is somewhere in here. But along the way, it activates the prefrontal, the motor, the visual, the sensory cortexes, as well as our nucleus accumbens in here, and a bunch of other things. So our cerebellum down in here, our amygdala in here. So, not exact, but it's a lot of the brain that's highlighted. And so this is a lot of dense physiology. I don't understand most of it, and I don't expect any of you to understand any of it. But just recognize that a lot of your brain is used just in the process of listening and playing music. So how does this help with our education? Well, with so many parts of the brain activated, we see learning comprehension, we see recollection and understanding of core subjects like math, science, reading grow immensely stronger in students who are music students, who just sing, who play an instrument, as opposed to students who don't do anything musical at all. Just aside from the academic standpoint, music also contributes to a wide variety of emotional and social skills. So take performing, for instance. It's a stressful experience for students most often. So it forces the student to tackle a challenge. It forces them to use teamwork, to take on risks, build self-esteem in a very healthy manner. As one article explains it, performing a musical piece can bring fear and anxiety. But doing so teaches kids to take risks and deal with fear, which will help them become successful and reach their potential. So these are the obvious benefits to the general population of students. But if we look at how the brain is activated in students with disabilities, we see these benefits increase tenfold. It's crazy. So about 13% of students live with a disability. So this means at least one child, probably more, per classroom, cannot learn or interact in the same way as a typical student. So a lot of them have IEPs, so an individual education plan. Some of them even stay in school longer than us, so they can go up to the age of 21. So music, for whatever reason, it seemingly just unlocks them. They can learn better with music. They find alternate ways of learning. It lessens the severity of their disability, so they have a higher success rate when music is incorporated into their education. We can look at a bunch of case studies. I worked with a boy with a traumatic brain injury, and he could not speak. He had very uncontrolled motor skills. And when they incorporated music therapy into his education, he was able to communicate. He was able to communicate through singing. He was able to sit still. He was able to finish his education. So when he came to public school, his parents knew that he would be successful. There's another boy who had very severe ADHD. He took up drumming. First couple lessons, the teacher said he couldn't sit still long enough to hit a cymbal, which is, for us, you just hit a cymbal. He couldn't do it. He couldn't sit still long enough. I think after a couple months, he said that this boy, eventually, the drumming altered his brain in such a positive way that he could sit and play a couple simple grooves for several minutes, which then goes to the classroom. He could sit longer in the classroom and learn. I know a very close friend of mine has a very rare genetic disease, and he will unfortunately not make it past the age of 25. He can't breathe, he can't talk on his own, he's in a wheelchair, and so he has very high anxiety, and music is something that calms his anxiety. He is transformed with the process of music. These are just a couple, but there are so many people who've been affected by this with music, with their disabilities. So all these benefits of music, it works with gifted students, non-gifted students, disabled, and yet we still see music programs disappearing. Maybe some of you encountered that in high school. Music programs are being cut, they're disappearing. So why is that? Well, do you guys remember standardized testing? Unfortunately, I took Foresights, I took PSSAs, I took Keystones, and we have George W. Bush to thank for these. So in 2002, we led a crusade against poor education, implementing the No Child Left Behind Act. This act mandates yearly testing on math, science, and literature, from 3rd to 8th grade and again in 10th grade, which we all know. So the states are required to improve their test scores, and if they don't improve their test scores, an educator explains that schools risk a reduction or cancellation of funding. There was closure, total disclosure, or takeover by the state. So with such harsh repercussions, the school boards are now trying to find more ways to angle class time toward core subjects because schools need funding. So because they're angling time toward core subjects, they have to get rid of untested subjects, such as music programs. And music and art programs are typically the first ones to go. So because of this greater emphasis on these tested core subjects, teachers have to teach the state tests. So classroom learning is geared towards standardized testing. So teachers are reluctant to use these innovative instructional strategies known as lab work, learning on site, hands-on activities. So students are unengaged in the classroom. It's very, very boring to be learning constantly about how to fill in scantrons and how to do simple math skills and reading comprehension that's only used for these standardized testing. So students are not reaching their full potential in the classroom. They're losing their curiosity in the classroom because what they're learning is not engaging, and they do not have an outlet, a music outlet per se, to spark that curiosity. So more time on these tested subjects is leading to ineffective teaching, making students disinterested, and they lose valuable ground in their education. Now, none of us are in high school. We're all in college now. But there's kids behind us. There are kids who we're going to grow up, and some of us are going to have kids one day, and we want the best education for our kids. It is proved that music will improve and help your education academically, socially, emotionally, drastically. So it makes no sense to discard something that makes students improve their education. So just remember that as we get older, as we strive to make decisions, remember that music is something that we can give our kids to help them in many, many, many ways. Thank you.